The second wrong-headed approach that we take to marriage is this. It is called the pragmatic versus a faith approach. What do I mean by that? We like to say in our culture, and I've heard a lot of people say this. I've sat down with a lot of people that were living together, then they got saved, or one of them got saved, and dragged the husband in, or the boyfriend in to counsel because they said, now that I'm saved, the bishop said we have to live right. And so he comes to sit down. He ain't saved yet, but he wants to do the right thing because he wants to stay with her for whatever reason. He wants to remain with her. And he'll say things like, look, I love this woman. Pastor, I don't love her any less than you love your wife. To me, that marriage is just a piece of paper. And see, I'm of the belief that the minute I marry her, everything's going to go bad. Have you ever heard people say that? I know people who have lived together quite happily, if I may assure you, but decades, no problems other than what you and I go through, and they're doing quite well, but they refuse to marry simply because of the superstitious belief that the minute they get married, everything is going to fall apart. So they say, look, if it is all about that piece of paper, I can do without it. But can I tell you something, that marriage is more than just a piece of paper? A Christian marriage is more than just a piece of paper. People don't see marriage for what it is. If you see it for just a piece of paper, then you can justify living together and claiming that you don't need the paper to legitimize your love. And some people even believe that it will make things worse. But listen to this, marriage is a covenant, it's not a contract. A contract is a piece of paper. Well, what's the difference? A covenant is a solemn promise or agreement, often a spiritual or a moral one in nature. And it is usually done between two parties, with God being the third party. It is typically based on trust, mutual understanding, and a shared commitment to uphold certain values and principles. A contract, on the other hand, is a legally binding agreement between two people, and it really has to do, it outlines specific obligations, rights, responsibilities, and so forth and so on. Contracts are often based on transactional exchange of goods, service, or consideration, and they are enforceable by law. So contracts need lawyers, covenants need priests. Contracts are transactional, covenants are not. Contracts require signatures, covenants require oaths. Do you, Mark McLean, take Denise to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, in sickness and in health and all of that stuff, and the good and the bad, until death do us part? I do. Hey, you earned a kiss for that. You earned a kiss for that. You see that? Even if there's no paper signed, the moment you say that, God got you. Because anytime you say covenant, God is always a third party. And here's the thing about contracts. Contracts end when the terms are fulfilled. Covenants never end. Only except in certain cases where both parties agree to annul that covenant. Oh my goodness. And so there's a difference between a contract, and so when you say it's just a piece of paper, you must be talking about a contract. But when you're talking about Christian and biblical marriage, we are talking about a covenant made between a man and a woman before God. That's why you need someone who represents God to stand there and ratify that covenant. It's a whole difference, getting married in a court and getting married by the priest of God. It's a whole difference. If you get married in a court, that's maybe a contract. But if you got married in the presence of God, and come on somebody, in the house of the Lord, and a man of God witnesses that and blesses that covenant, you are held by a higher standard. It is not just a piece of paper between two people. Christian marriage is about reflecting the relationship of Jesus and his church. Do you read in Ephesians? It says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become what? One flesh. This is a profound mystery, but I am talking about Christ and the church. Marriage, all marriage, whether Christian or not, but specifically Christian marriage, because marriage is God's idea. But see, I'm not a Christian. I'm of the world. I believe two men can be married, two women can be married. Okay, that's another story. That's the world. The Christian marriage between a man and a woman is a reflection of the relationship between Jesus Christ and his church. There is the world and then there's a church. Two different kingdoms. If you're a part of the church of the Lord Jesus Christ, you don't subscribe to the world's ideas because they've taken marriage and they've made a mess of it. But if you don't hold fast to the biblical understanding of what marriage represents and what it's about, you're going to fall for that. Marriage can be anything because love is love. It's a whole thing. We're going to get to that. We're going to talk about that, but not today. It's not just a piece of paper. And if you come into it thinking that, you will not understand the purpose of your being married to that woman that God has given you, that good thing that you sometimes look at and wish that you hadn't married. If she's a good thing, Lord, help me to find the good in her. If she's a good thing, Lord, help me to experience, teach me how to draw the good out of her, because you said that if I found a wife, I found a good thing. I don't want to believe I'm with the wrong woman. I want to believe I'm with the right woman, but I haven't been experiencing the good thing. Lord, teach me what I need to know so I can get the good out of that woman. Because when I stood before you at the altar, I believe she was the right woman.